Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Muhammad Jaffer. Thank you for connecting with us today on the Zoom in on the Halal Metropolis, where we are telling the story of Muslims in Southeast Michigan and how they are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. And today we have Dana Mohammad. She is a sexual assault kit specialist, a trauma professional, and a social justice advocate. And she's going to tell us a little bit about the issue of domestic violence amidst this pandemic. But first, Dana, how are you doing? How's your family?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah. My family's doing well. No complaints here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're hanging in there.
That's
It's good
good.
stuff. Yeah. So, okay, Dana, we're hearing a lot about, how these restrictions on movement and how, this might be contributing to increased violence in homes, such as domestic violence. And sexual assault is a form of domestic violence. And you have a lot of information on that. So, what are your thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, so definitely because of the stay-at-home order and the restriction in movement, we're seeing an increase in domestic violence and sexual assault cases. And that's obviously due to, being stuck at home with a violent family member or a violent partner. And these people are struggling day to day between staying at home with this person and being physically, sexually, mentally abused, or trying to find a space in a domestic violence shelter and then risk being exposed to the coronavirus. And we all know that domestic and sexual violence is already extremely underreported, especially when it comes to men, the trans community, the non-binary community.
Mhm.
And now it's even worse because there's nowhere to go. You're literally always around your abuser. And if you wanted to call for help or speak to someone, it becomes even harder to do that when, you're in this house, you're stuck in a small space with this person, and there's very little help to be sought out when you're in a situation like that. And we're also seeing that with sexual assault survivors. There's no evidence that people are not being sexually assaulted during this time. But unfortunately, because hospitals are now like a hotspot to contracting the virus,
Mhm.
people are not going to the hospitals and getting their evidence collection kit or rape exam. So that's been a very big barrier for people to seek services.
Yeah, we're hearing that and correct me if I'm wrong, there's less incidents being reported. Um, and some people are associating that with there's less social interactions happening, but actually there's probably more incidents of this happening, but just less
Mm-hmm.
reporting of it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So what does sexual assault or domestic violence look like? I mean, it looks like a lot of things, but within the context of the pandemic, are there certain things that people should be, watching out for?
Yeah, so typically when we think of domestic violence, we think of it being very physical, or sexual assault being very violent. But during this pandemic, it could look like so many different things. It could be like withholding your partner's stimulus check if you file a joint tax return or if you're waiting on it in the mail. An abuser can hold on to that and financially abuse you in that way. It could be restricting your communications with the outside world. A lot of us are going virtual. We can't hang out, so we have Zoom meetings and Zoom parties. We check in via FaceTime, and abusers could take advantage of that and, not allow their victim to speak with anyone in the outside world outside of the house.
Mm.
It could also be contributing to the fear of that person by spreading false information about the virus, making it more dramatic, making the person, scared to leave the house even for essential items, scared to touch things in the house. It could be in a form of emotional and psychological manipulation.
Yeah, wow. I mean, those are things that a lot of us don't even think about, as being assault or abuse. And I think the assumption is always that like a lot of us are staying home and we're in safe spaces, but that's not
Yeah.
the reality of a lot of people.
Right, especially because, the virus is obviously contributing to an increase in tension and frustration.
Mm,
And I think because of the isolation that we're in, it could definitely boost abusive patterns of behavior, and it could make violent people behave in even more violent ways.
very true. Yeah, people are financially stressed. I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that can contribute to this type of an issue. Do you have any, good resources that, people could use if they're dealing with these type of issues?
Definitely. So, a lot of people are worried about, a lack of counseling resources, or like, what am I going to do now? I'm used to going to my counseling sessions. A lot of organizations in this field are moving on to telemedicine and teletherapy.
Hmm.
Um, I work at Wayne County Safe, and our organization has been able to provide virtual counseling for our survivors with some serious, like, encrypted, I don't know about that technology stuff, but it's really cool, and it keeps everything super confidential. So if people were interested in receiving counseling or continuing counseling, that is definitely something that's still out there. So a lot of the legal cases that I was handling at work have obviously been postponed because of the pandemic, but I just learned that a lot of the personal protection orders are now being done virtually. So before, we'd have to go to court, files, sit and wait for the judge to come out with their order. But now people can file their PPO online. So that's a really cool service for people who are not able to leave the house and shouldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations now have chat features on their websites. So if you can't talk to someone over the phone, like we said earlier, your abuser is always around you. You can chat with someone in a totally encrypted and confidential way. And then there's a lot of safe exits on websites in case, your abuser is around you and you don't want them looking at your screen. You can do that. As always, I'm going to advocate for my nonprofit, Wayne County Safe. It's an amazing organization, and we have a 24-hour crisis pager. First Step is also a very cool organization in the Southeast Michigan region that offer services for domestic violence survivors and sexual violence survivors. There's a bunch of organizations nationally that can take phone calls, and I'm sure we could include that information in the
Hmm.
description box for people to have accessible.
Yeah, we'll definitely include it in the description. And of course, Dana, thank you so much for all of, providing all that information on those resources. I'm sure, it's very helpful to a lot of people. I do want to switch gears here for a second. I want to ask you about Ramadan. Ramadan is pretty much here. And we're in unusual circumstances. Do you have, what are your plans this Ramadan?
I'm very sad. I love the social aspect of Ramadan, especially in Dearborn. It makes it so much more magical. And it makes you feel real, because when you're at home, you're just fasting and then you eat, and then there's not even Bab al anymore. Like, what do we do? But I know a lot of, like, mosques and even the Ramadan festival, they're doing like outdoor decor, like competitions, and you best believe we're on that. So that's what we're
Yeah.
doing right now. We're coming up with our own, like, family goals for Ramadan. Um, I've been super into cooking lately, so I'm coming up with, like, Ramadan dishes to make. So we're trying to keep a positive outlook, of course. And, Ramadan's obviously more about your spiritual journey throughout the month, but we can't lie that the social aspect will definitely be missed.
It will definitely be missed. Yeah, and the Halal Metropolis team is actually part of the people who are putting together the Ramadan Lights competition. So,
Ooh, okay,
yeah,
put in the good work for
it's exciting stuff. But Dana, thank you so much. Thank you for all the work that you do, and thank you for
Thank you.
taking a moment to speak with us today. We appreciate everything that you do. And I wish you, safety and health, and a
Thank you.
very blessed Ramadan. And
Thank you. You
and
too.
and thank you for everybody who's watching. So take it easy, and I'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.